on this computer. Okay, right, start webinar. Hi everyone, we'll just give it a couple of minutes to allow more people to join and then we'll kick off. Okay, I'll get started now. Thank you so much everyone for joining us this morning. Happy Friday and welcome to our final day of MPLS Mental Health Awareness Week activity. I think quite a few of you have joined several of our sessions, so I hope that you've enjoyed the week so far. Just some housekeeping. This is a webinar, so you're automatically muted and your cameras are off, so no need to worry about that. We are recording this session, but as I said, you're muted, so that's all okay. Within Zoom, we've got both the chat function and the Q&A function. If you have any questions, please use the Q&A function because you were then able to upvote the questions that you would like Pete to answer. I don't think that you can turn off the auto captions. I've activated them so that the live transcript is available for all attendees. But that's thank you. You've just written in the chat function there. Please feel free to use that as well. But if you would like to open it up to everyone who's attending rather than just the panelists, make sure you click the button to say all panelists and attendees. And then everyone can see your comments as we go through the session. Yes, and Maria has said that you can move the box out of the way if that helps. Okay, without further ado, I am going to hand over to Pete, who's going to talk to us about Togetherall. Thank you.
Thank you, Jo. Good morning, everyone, or afternoon if you're watching this on catch up. My name's Pete. I'm one of the service leads in student welfare and support services. And today we're going to be talking about Togetherall. And this is quite exciting for us because this is one of the few projects that the university has that works with both students and staff. So Togetherall is a programme that the university has is currently piloting for a couple of years, and it is an online peer support style mental health programme that also incorporates a number of other tools like journaling or assessments or courses that you can do in your own time as you need. And I think the great thing about Togetherall is that it is a completely free service, and the service is actually an anonymous service. So the very principle of it is that you can go online, there is some anonymity there so that you can actually speak quite freely to other people in the community and get help without being identified. But obviously, just to say, there are some safety things attached to that in the back end, which we'll talk about later, but generally, for 99% of what you're doing, if you're not at risk or you're not about to harm yourself, the university will never know anything about what you're doing on Togetherall. There will be some time for questions at the end, but do shove anything in the Q&A and people will shout at me if I need to answer something a little bit more quickly. So let's just talk about Togetherall, and I'm going to show you a nice little video because I think that's just the easiest way if we just let Togetherall explain in 1 minute what it is.
A safe place to talk, share and support others like you, moderated by professionals 24/7. Everybody is safe. We don't use real names and we take your anonymity seriously. Once in, you can use a range of tools and services. Connect with others who are experiencing similar thoughts and feelings. Express yourself creatively by posting a brick. Keep track of thoughts and feelings in your very own journal. Identify and work towards your goals. Understand what you're experiencing and track your progress. Take part in an online course where you can chat with others and share tips on what's working. And when you need a bit more support, our clinically managed and registered wall guides are just a click away. So join today to get support, take control, and feel better.
There we go. So that's a very simple overview. And what we're going to do is I'm just going to talk through the very basics of what is offered on Togetherall. And then I'm going to go and show you what it looks like in live if you've not seen it, so that you can see actually what it looks like and how you can access that. So again, this is what Togetherall is talking about. It's an online community. It's what we would call a peer support digital community. So it's effectively the predominant support comes from peers, so other people across the world who are using Togetherall. And Togetherall is used right across the world. It's currently used a lot in New Zealand. It's been used in Canada, and the UK is a really big market for this. And that's really helpful because it's worldwide. There is 24-hour support available. There's usually always, well, there is always someone online, and you can access this from home or from work 24 hours a day. There are a range of self-assessment tools that you can look at, which are all built on standardized clinical tools. So you can see, and we'll look at some of these, you know, how are you sleeping? Do you have high anxiety? Are you ticking some boxes for depression? Those are all available for you. And there's a range of tools within this as well, such as journaling, setting goals, which we'll look at, and also a number of courses that you can access that are sort of self-help courses looking at a range of things that you might find really helpful. And alongside this, there's a program called the Wall Guides, and the Wall Guides are trained professionals who are available 24/7. So if you have a particular worry or a particular concern, you can get in touch with a wall guide all the time. And these wall guides are supported by clinically trained professionals. So behind all of Togetherall, there are a team of counsellors and therapists who really know how to work with all these sorts of mental health concerns that it might exist. So before we jump in, this is the basic sort of premises of Togetherall. There's the community aspects, which is built on this idea of bricks and talkabouts. Before Togetherall was called Togetherall, it was known as Big White Wall. And this idea came across that it was all about putting bricks into a wall. And bricks are sort of art or thoughts or comments that you might want to put out to the community. And similarly, talkabouts are just a space where you can say what's going on for you. And within the community, people can comment on that. The wall guides can comment on that. And this is the peer support idea. People can support and encourage and share their own experiences of what's been going on for them as a way of helping us move forwards ourselves. There's a range of courses which we'll look at. We'll look at the resources, and I'll show you how to access the wall guides. So this is the link to get in. The presentation will be shared so you can use it. There's also stuff on the university's HR website which points to this, but it all goes through Togetherall. So you don't need to go through SSO or anything like that. You just go to the Togetherall website and log in. Now, hopefully by the magic of Zoom, I will just quickly magically jump over Togetherall. There we go, we're here. So this is the Togetherall landing page. And you can access this from anywhere in the world. If you haven't got an account, you can join here, or you can register using this button on the top right. It's really important that you register with your university email address, because that's the thing that Togetherall knows that you're a member of the university, and that's how you're accessing. So the university has paid for this. Your university email address is the thing that Togetherall knows that you've got a legit membership, and that's how you can get in. Once you're registered, Togetherall will ask you to come up with like a username that is not your real name, and that's just part of this anonymous use. You can call yourself whatever you want, and it's not about using your name. So what I'm going to show you now is what Togetherall looks like live, I'm going to introduce you to my alter ego, Nigel, who is my sort of sample account that we use to show people what Togetherall is. So once I've logged in, I'm going to appear on the homepage, which covers everything. It's a very simple website. It's all very straightforward. This is pretty much all you ever see in terms of a homepage. So the first question that Togetherall will ask you is how are you feeling? And you can just pick a face. You know, what's going on for you today? How are you feeling? I'm going to put a smiley face in because it's Friday and I've got some coffee, so I'm pretty happy. And you've got the sort of the normal website functions going on here. You've got your account information up on the top right. You've got settings for notifications. You've got a search function. If there's something particularly that you want to look for, you can search for that and it will pull up anything relevant within the community, within courses, or within resources. So let's look at these in order. The community is probably the largest part of Togetherall, and I think some people really love this. Other people, this might not fit for you, but you know, have a look at it and have a go. There's definitely some really valuable stuff, both in the courses and the resources behind this. So this is live, so I don't quite know what's going to show up, but let's have a look. So this is the community space. And as you can see, there's an awful lot of text. This is all quite live, so stuff created in the last 5 minutes or so. And you can add to this whatever you want to talk about. You can click on this button here that says create a talk about, which is, I think, what these first two blocks are, or a brick. Bricks tend to be more around sort of an art or an expression. The talk abouts are more an extended piece of text talking about what's going on. And within this, you can select whether you want to look at bricks or talk abouts, or if you're feeling that you want to comment on something or support someone else, you can look at what's going on here in terms of categories. So if you feel you want to look at anxiety as a thing, you can select that. And it will just filter out the posts based on what's going on for other people. And you can look into these, you can comment on these, and just sort of help other people, as well as creating your own if there's a particular thing going on for you that you would like some insight from the community. And the community, of course, is built up of other people across the world, but also the wall guides will also be there to help out or make comments on things with an idea of building up. There are some rules that you will have to agree to when you sign up, which is largely around making sure that you're encouraging and positive to people and not saying horrible things, because this is meant to be a safe space for things. Anything that comes up that's not appropriate, the wall guys will actively moderate that and take that content down. Okay, let's have a look at courses. So courses are literally, as they say, they're self-help courses, and they're designed to work over a period of time. And there are a huge number here that are focused on different things. So you can see the cut down on your drinking, if that's a concern, sleep, anger. But if I just scroll down, you'll see that there are a huge number of courses available on this. And we've been using Togetherall in the university for just over a year now. And I can tell you that the most popular course at Oxford, you won't be surprised, is this bottom one, which is Stop Procrastinating, a really popular one. And as you can see, I've started this course and I'm halfway through, then I obviously got distracted. So that's not quite worked for me. Now, all courses will start with an assessment. So if I were to open stress management, the first thing it's going to do is ask me to take an assessment. So I'm going to have a marker of how I am at the start. And the idea is that once you've worked through this course over a number of days or a number of sessions or even a number of weeks, it's all at your own pace. At the end, there'll be another assessment, and it will be looking to show you what progress you have made. So if I jump back to the procrastination one, which is hidden itself at the bottom again, I've already started this course. And so you can stop and start courses as and when, and everything has an overview. If we're looking at this particular course, some courses like this one have a lot of text to read, which is about trying to help you understand what's going on behind the procrastination behavior, why that might exist, to sort of help you think about it. And one of the things it's going to encourage you to do at the bottom here is to either use the tracking software that's within that to see how much progress you're making as you progress through the course, but also using a tool of journaling. Now, journaling is a really common sort of therapeutic thing. It's really helpful to take ideas out of our heads and just put them down, because it can be a really helpful thing just to note progress and what's going on. And you can just jump straight in and you can add an entry to your journal here, and you can access your journal from resources. So let's just have a look at resources. There's sort of two aspects to resources, which the video sort of alluded to. One is your journal, so what's been going on, and you can add to this whenever you want, and your journal is private. The only people that can ever see your journal are the wall guides if there are significant concerns, and I'll stress the significant, not just because they're a bit bored and they want to have a look. So the journal is yours, and it is a private journal. The other one is setting goals. So if there are certain goals that you would like to set yourself, you can set those within Togetherall, and it will help you track those through. So if you do want to, look at lifestyle things about reducing smoking or drinking, you can set goals for those. But equally, if it's a sort of a work thing, you want to set some goals for some work, you can set those here. And we also talked about self-assessment tools. I'm going to click view all so we can have a look. Within clinical work, we often use assessment tools because they give you a really good indicator of where you are now and where you can be. So these are all built on very standard clinical tools that exist worldwide. So this is a really easy way to access this. So I'm going to try and find the sleep one. Sleeping, here we go. So within this, you can just have a look at your self-assessment. You can bash through these, and it will also keep track of what's going on. So if I will just run through this super quickly, so do forgive me. If I say true to everything on this, it's only a few questions. You might want to say false on some things, but if I say true, hopefully we'll get to the end. And what you can see is over time, it's tracking what's going on. So ignore the dates because I totally did some of these yesterday. You might see a high, you might see a low, and you might see a high. So the real value of these assessment tools is that you can jump in. You're getting a proper sort of clinical measure of how you are doing in terms of the clinical assessments, but you can also see progress. So if you were to combine the self-assessment for sleep with the the self-help course on sleep management, that will really help. You should see these numbers going from high down to low. So you can really track progress, and that can be really helpful in terms of how you're feeling. So the last thing to talk about is the wall guide. And at the bottom right of the screen down here, you will always see the wall guide. And the wall guide is a one-to-one space for you to talk to a wall guide. So the wall guides are clinically supervised and trained professionals who are also available 24/7. So if something is really worrying you, you can completely just message a wall guide. They will get back to you very quickly. And the wall guides are there. So if they are really concerned that you are significantly at risk of harm, they will also sort of tell you where to get help locally in the UK or wherever you are, and will help sort of facilitate that. So you basically get this sort of long text. They are trained professionals. So that's, I think, a really helpful thing. So you can access a counsellor if something's going on via this. You just type in your message, you post it, but the wall guides are also there in the background. So I'm going to just stop showing you this and attempt to jump back to the presentation, which is this one.
Just while you're doing that, Pete, we've
Yes.
had a question in the Q&A function asking about Togetherall and the site itself. If it's anonymous, why does it need my university email and my date of birth? That suggests that I may be identified if someone chose to look.
Yeah, so the university doesn't have access to that data. So Togetherall have that data, and that is just for those very, very rare moments where they're really concerned. So that's very much around if you're at significant risk of harming yourself to the point that in normal times we would be thinking about phoning an ambulance or the police. That just allows Togetherall to facilitate that conversation with the police or the ambulance. So those are the only times where they might need to either get in touch with the university for your contact details, or just to hand those over to the emergency services. But just to reiterate that the university can't log on. So no one in HR can log on Togetherall and go, right, show me everything that university employees have been up to. That's not how it works. The data belongs with Togetherall. And the only purpose of the university email address registering is so that Togetherall know you're an Oxford University member of staff. And the date of birth is just another thing to help us make sure we're identifying the right people. Is that helpful?
Thank you.
Perfect. Can you all see my presentation screen again? Yes. Great. I can't, it's really hard to see without seeing what's going on. And I just wanted to share a couple of other resources. Obviously we work with students in student welfare, and sometimes I think it's really helpful for staff just to know where to go if a student's got a concern or what's going on for them. Sometimes this place is super confusing, where to send them. There's this top link here is a link which talks about all the student welfare services. So if a student needs pushing in the right direction, do have a look at that website, because it tells you all about our provision, and that's a bit more staff focused in terms of referring stuff on. And the other link there is for a range of self-help resources that the university's counselling service provides. So in addition to programmes like Togetherall, the university counselling service has a range of podcasts, videos, on a whole range of topics that fit university life quite well. And although they're aimed at students, they're also free and accessible. So if you're a member of staff, you can also look at those. And I don't think we talk about that enough, but if it's helpful to talk about procrastination more, there's some great videos on that. If there's some great work on living in the pandemic and what that means in terms of being cut off from people. I will say it's slightly more student-y focused. So it's not always like nail on for staff, but I think it's worth you knowing that there are other resources available if you just want to check out a podcast or a video on anything that's going on. And I think that is it. So I'm going to stop sharing and we can look at some questions. And you can see my face if you're not there. I am. Hello.
Thanks so much, Pete. Just for everyone else, please do feel free to use the Q&A function. Or if you would like to actually ask a question in real life, we can unmute you so you can raise your hand. So we'll just wait a few minutes and see if anyone has any questions for Pete. Thanks, Louise. Yeah, I agree. I didn't know that this actually existed. I mean, I'm quite new to the university anyway, but it's been really useful to get an idea of what is actually out there.
And if colleagues have any sort of feedback on Togetherall, if you've used it or you think it's missing something, it would be really great to hear about that. The university had a 2-year pilot, which runs out, I think, next March or next April. So there's a question about, do we continue with it or not? So if it's valuable and useful, we're really keen that we can keep that going. So, but do have a look. I think it can be a really helpful tool.
Pete's also going to share his slides with me so that we can, we'll circulate this after the session. And that's also helpful, because it's got some useful links in there that we can direct students or colleagues to if they need it. Teresa said this is a step up in terms of help for our students, flexible and broad. So that's great. Thank you for that feedback. Yes, Deepak, so Deepak's asked if the recording will be made available. Yes, it's going to be hosted on our webpage, hopefully by the end of next week.
There's another question in the questions box around my son's at another university. If that university doesn't subscribe, could he register anyway? I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think so. Togetherall is generally a subscription service that universities pay into, or although I know, depending on where they are, some governments have also bought into Togetherall. So I think if you're in Canada or New Zealand, that's a bit of a winner, but otherwise perhaps not.
Beverly's commented that it would be useful to include in student and staff induction material. Yeah, you're absolutely correct.
So in another question on Togetherall advertised to students. So Togetherall has been advertised to students through the usual, what we call the student comms channels. So students have a student newsletter. I think it's been pretty much every week over the pandemic, advertising welfare provision, of which Togetherall is part. We were super lucky that actually so Togetherall is something we've been planning and looking at for a while, and it just happened to go live for the university just at the start of the pandemic, which was complete luck, I would say, but was incredibly helpful in terms of having a flexible system that we could share with students. So students are reminded of this quite regularly, and it will form part of the new student comms at the start of Michaelmas as well.
We've had a really useful comment from a colleague, just in terms of feedback, saying they've used it and it's very useful. There are a lot of students who use it, so the comments can feel like the users are, kind of in quotation marks, younger, but the resources are great and the peer support and wall guides can be very helpful. So that's great that, we've got people here today who are actually using it and think it's working well. So thank you very much for providing that feedback.
And I think it's making sure you use it as is helpful. I think because it is quite a broad programme with sort of courses and resources, that might suit you more. Whereas actually, I think many people also find the ability, perhaps students, just to say how they're feeling and get some sort of feedback on that can be really helpful. So use it as it works for you. I think, don't feel you have to use it all. And there's a couple more questions in terms of tracking progress and recommended use. I would say use it as it is helpful for you. Different people have different ways of looking at it. If setting something up weekly and checking in with it weekly is helpful, that's great. But equally, life can be busy. So if you don't make it in a 1 week, that doesn't matter. I mean, have a look at the course. I think if you're wanting to do a course, take it slowly. Having time and making time to reflect on the text and how that impacts you, and using things like the journals can actually be much more helpful than just rushing through a course in one session. I was also asked, the other question is, do we know what the take-up has been? Yes, we have some stats on take-up. We saw a massive take-up when it was first launched back in March at the start of the pandemic. In terms of sort of registrations, and that's sort of dropped off a little bit since then, because obviously it's measuring sort of new registrations. There were lots, but what the feedback we get from Togetherall is suggesting that people do go on it, that students spend about 30-40 minutes of time when they log in, and from their data they think we're about in line with other institutions and other organisations that use Togetherall. I think we essentially would like to see it used a bit more. It's there, but equally, I think that's the comms message in terms of reminding people that it's there, and also telling staff that it's there for them as well. It's not just a student tool; it's for all students and staff at the university. And the link to Togetherall will be in the presentation, which I will share. I can also stick it in the chat.
We've had just another comment saying it's worth mentioning that it will occasionally send you a check-in email if you don't log in for a while, which is actually quite useful. So yeah, that is good. Thank you. And Pete's just pasted the link to Togetherall in the chat for everyone as well. Just wait another minute or so to see if anyone else has any more questions. Okay, well, I haven't seen anything come through. Oh, hang on. I lie. There's one more question that's just come in. So asking if you're reaching out to one of the trained counsellors, can you pick up with the same one another time?
So I'm not sure how it works in terms of you generally talk to a wall guide who is a counsellor, but you generally get allocated to the one who is available at that moment. So if you were to log on at the same time in the same place, you may have that person, but because we're drawing from sort of clinical expertise across the world, you're speaking to a qualified counsellor, potentially from the other side of the world at a particular moment in time. So it's a slightly sort of different arrangement, but a wall guide will always pick up your questions. We can't sort of guarantee you'll talk to the same person. And it's not quite talking therapy in the way that, you know, going to see a counsellor in the UK is. But if you want that, I believe we have an employee assistance program where you can speak to a counsellor more regularly as well. And there should be details on HR's website.
Great. We will see if anything else comes through just while I'm kind of spieling. But thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. I hope it's been helpful. And as I said, I will share the slides at some point after the session finishes. Thank you so much, Pete. It's been really, really helpful. Is there anything else that you'd like to highlight or point out at this point?
No, thank you for listening. Make sure you go and grab a coffee and take some time out. It's always a good thing to do.
Definitely. Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. And see you soon, hopefully.